A few years back, I spent over 2 years on something I never once tried to measure. No numbers. No way of knowing if it reached one person or 100,000. Friends thought I was leaving money on the table but not tracking it. I want to tell you why I never checked and what it taught me about doing things for reasons that have nothing to do with proof. Somewhere in my early years doing anything online, I felt like God wanted me to record every single chapter of the Bible, all of it, start to finish, out loud, on video. Not a summary, not the highlights, every chapter. It wasn't a small undertaking. Over 2 years, chapter by chapter, no shortcuts, no skipping the parts that were harder to read out loud or less exciting to sit through. I just kept going because that's what I understood I'd been asked to do. Friends who knew me well asked me more than once why I didn't put a donation button on the channel while I was at it. Fair question, honestly. I was putting in real time, and there's nothing wrong with being compensated for real work, but I never did it. Nobody had told me to raise money. I'd been told to do the reading, so that's all I did. Here's the part most people don't expect. I never went looking to see how many people watched it. Never checked if it reached anybody outside the handful of folks I already knew. To this day, all these years later, I generally don't know what became of those videos beyond my own life. For a while, that used to nag at me a little, I'll admit that. There's a part of all of us that wants to know our effort mattered, wants some kind of number or message or sign that says, yes, that was worth it. I didn't get that. I finished the last chapter the same way I finished most of them, quietly, with no one clapping, and no way to measure it if it landed anywhere at all. What I understand now, looking back, is that the obedience was the assignment, not the results, not the reach, not whatever came after. I was asked to do the reading. What happened to it after that was never mine to know, and I've come to believe it was never supposed to be. I think a lot of us get stuck waiting on proof before we'll keep doing something we believe we're supposed to do. We want the metrics, the feedback, the sign that it's working before we're willing to keep going. Sometimes that proof never comes. Not because the work didn't matter, because that was never the part we were given to carry. I've built plenty of things in my life where I could count the results. Houses that stood, hives that produced, a business with numbers I could look at. This wasn't one of those. This was the kind of work where I had to trust that the outcome belonged to somebody bigger than me, and my only job was to finish what had started. There's a harder kind of truth than the kind that gets confirmed, but I've come to believe it might be the more honest kind. If you're doing something right now that nobody's noticing, something you can't measure, can't prove mattered, and some days wonder if it's worth continuing, I understand that weight. I carried it for 2 years myself. I don't have a number to give you that says it was worth it. I just have my own peace for what that's worth. Sometimes that has to be enough.